Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Rundown. We're going to go over the MLB game scheduled for Tuesday, August 6, 2024. If you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comments section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, including my daily rundown best bet in the MLB, you can find those at the premium picks tab at pickdawgz.com. There's also a link in the description. Alrighty, here we go. Here are the games for Tuesday in Major League Baseball. First up, the Arizona Diamondbacks taking on the Cleveland Guardians. No official starter for Arizona, but Ben Lively should be going for Cleveland. Ben Lively's given up some sharp contact recently, at least one home run in 4 of his last 5, 6 home runs total in those 5 games. And Diamondbacks have done a really good job against right-handed pitching recently. They're number 3 in team OPS in the last month, number 1 in isolated power, have a high walk rate and a low strikeout rate to go with it. So this is a tough matchup, especially a progressive field for Ben Lively. I think Arizona gets to him for a few runs early, potentially a few home runs, and I would take their team total over in the first 5 innings in the full game. I also think just taking the Diamondbacks on the money line is in play as well. We'll see who their official starter is, but that bullpen made some moves at the deadline. It's improved overall. It's top 10 in baseball in xFIP in the last 30 days with a sub-4 ERA, which is definitely a step in the right direction. So give me Arizona team total over and the Diamondbacks on the money line. Next up, the Cincinnati Reds taking on the Miami Marlins. Nick Lodolo and Max Meyer are your starters. Now, Nick Lodolo really struggled in that last game against the Cubs. He gave up a lot of sharp contact, extra base hits, a home run, and 8 earned runs in a 13-4 Cubs win. But that game was at Great American Ballpark, where we know that Lodolo's not fared too well there. He's been a lot better and more trustworthy on the road with a sub-3 ERA. So now facing the Marlins here, who have been right around league average against lefties in the last month, at a pitcher-friendly ballpark like Lone Depot, I do expect Lodolo to bounce back. And, Myers pitched well. The Marlins bullpen's been solid, but this is a Reds team that's hitting righties very well in the last 30 days. So I'm going to go with the Cincinnati Reds in this one on the money line and run line. Next up, we see the San Diego Padres and the Pittsburgh Pirates. Dylan Cease and Bailey Falter are your starters. Bailey Falter's first start back on July 30th was pretty solid against the Astros. It was 5 1/3 innings of only 1 earned run baseball, but as well as he pitched in that game, it's tough to go against Dylan Cease right now. I mean, he is on a roll. His last game, 5 2/3, 1 run against the Dodgers and an 8-1 win, 6 strikeouts. And now when you look at Cease and the Padres, his last 4 starts, 4-0, 7-0, 3-0, and 8-1. He's only given up 1 run in the last 4 games combined. The strikeout numbers are off the chart. And the Pirates have not been great against right-handed pitching in the last month. San Diego's been decent against lefties, so I like this matchup for him against Falter. Give me San Diego in this one on the money line and run line. Next up is San Francisco Giants taking on the Washington Nationals. Hayden Birdsong and Mackenzie Gore are your starters. And Mackenzie Gore only 1 strikeout in that last game against the Diamondbacks in 5 1/3 innings. He was able to work out of some jams in that game, but still gave up 3 runs and 8 base hits in the 5-4 Nationals loss. So I don't really love him in this matchup against the San Francisco team. It's hit lefties very well this season. In the last month, they're number 4 in isolated power, top 10 in team OPS as well against lefties. And on the other side, Birdsong was pitched really well after, a tough start to his season. I mean, he's been excellent. His strikeout numbers are there. He's got a sub-3 ERA now. The Giants' bullpen's improved. I got to go San Francisco on the run line on the road in this one. Next up, the Baltimore Orioles taking on the Toronto Blue Jays. Grayson Rodriguez and Chris Bassett are your starters. These teams met last week, and both of these starting pitchers faced the opposition in different games. Rodriguez in a 10-4 Orioles win went 6 innings of 3-run ball, 3 earned run baseball, 8 strikeouts in the end. And then Chris Bassett in a different game in a 6-2 Orioles victory. He gave up 5 earned runs, 9 base hits, and only 4 innings of work and a home run to go with it. The Blue Jays are 1-4 in Bassett's last 5 games. He's not in great form. And the Orioles are starting to turn it on now. We know they were great against righties at the beginning of the season. They kind of went in a little bit of a slump, but that Guardian series, their offense really showed up in a big way. I like them in this matchup against Bassett and the Blue Jays. Give me the Orioles on the run line. Next up, the Los Angeles Angels taking on the New York Yankees. Davis Daniel and Luis Gil are your starters. The Yankees are a big favorite in this game, so not really a ton of value, but I still think the Yankees win this game and cover the run line. Maybe take 2.5 runs if you want to get a better price with the Yankees, but when you look at Luis Gil, he's been giving up 3 earned runs or fewer his last 4 starts, and strikeout numbers are back to where they need to be. The control, the last game, 3 walks in 5 1/3, not great, but still, it was a 14-4 Yankees win. It goes to show that Yankees offense starting to pick it up. When you look at the Angels offensively, in the last month against right-handed pitching, they're ranked 27th in baseball in team OPS, near the bottom of the league in isolated power. The strikeout rate, not too bad, but I still think Gil puts together a quality start with good amount of strikeouts in this game. Daniel, 4.91 ERA, 22 innings so far this season. His last game against the Rockies was solid, but that was a home game against Colorado, so the Rockies were away from Coors. We know that their offense is not great on the road. Before that, he gave up 7 earned runs against the Rangers in a 9-4 blowout loss. So I got to go with the Yankees in this one, lay the 1.5 and potentially 2.5 runs at Yankee Stadium. Next up, we see the Milwaukee Brewers taking on the Atlanta Braves. Colin Ray and Chris Sale are your starters. And when you look at the Brewers' numbers against lefties in the last month offensively, they're pretty solid. But then you look at the fact that they struggled against both DJ Hertz and Mitchell Parker against the Nationals in that series, which they lost that series 2-1. And Chris Sale put together a pretty good outing against these Brewers back on July 31st. 5 2/3, 2 earned runs, so just 1 out shy of a quality start, 6 strikeouts, and a 6-2 Braves win. The Braves are 4-1 in Sale's last 5 starts, with all those wins being run line covers as a favorite. And when you look at the fact that, Colin Ray's got a 4.93 expected ERA, which is almost a run and a half steeper than his current ERA, plenty of room for regression. He gave up 2 home runs against Atlanta last week. I'm going to roll with the Braves in this one on the run line at home. Next up, we see the Tampa Bay Rays taking on the St. Louis Cardinals. Jeffrey Springs and Sonny Gray are your starters. Jeffrey Springs didn't have his best season debut against the Marlins, but it still was enough for the Rays to go on to win that game 9-3. And now, as a lefty facing a Cardinals team that we know has not hit lefties too well this season, I think Springs could put together a bounce-back start. And Sonny Gray has not been in great form. I mean, his last game was 7 innings, a 2-run ball. Definitely a bounce-back start for him, but it still ended up being a Cardinals loss. And St. Louis is now 1-3 in his last 4 starts. When he's being priced like this, like we see in this game, it's just tough to get behind the Cardinals. I think Tampa Bay can get to Gray for a couple of runs, and it might be enough for a win. I expect a lower scoring game, but I like the Rays in this one and a really good price on the money line. Next up, we see a big-time Texas rivalry in the AL West, the Astros and the Rangers. We got Framber Valdez for Houston, and Tyler Mahle making his season debut and Rangers debut for the home team. Mahle pitched pretty well in his rehab starts. His strikeout numbers were there. The control was not too bad, and I think he puts together a decent start in this game. The question is, can the Rangers bullpen back him up? It's been a rather inconsistent bullpen in the last month. Not the best expected numbers, but sub-4 ERA is not too shabby. And the other side, you have Framber Valdez. The Rangers have hit lefties very well in the last month, but they've also hit Framber Valdez pretty well in the last few meetings. Of course, in the postseason, they were able to get to Framber a couple of times, and back in the regular season of 2023, they did pretty good against Framber. So they haven't faced him this year, but against with how well the Rangers have been against lefties recently, I actually like this matchup for the Rangers offensively, and I'm going to go with the Rangers in this one on the money line. Next up, we see the Minnesota Twins taking on the Chicago Cubs. Pablo Lopez and Shota Imanaga. Great pitching matchup in this one. Pablo Lopez starting to put it together. We saw another good outing, quality start for him. Makes it 3 straight quality starts for Lopez, and the Twins are now 3-1 in his last 4 games. On the other side, Imanaga wasn't his best in that last game against St. Louis. He had 7 strikeouts through 6 2/3, but he gave up 10 base hits, 2 home runs, and 4 earned runs. And we've seen a couple of, the recent Wrigley Field starts not go Imanaga's way. Of course, that one game against the Mets on June 21st, 10 earned runs, 11 base hits. And the Twins have not been great against lefties in the last month, but I also don't trust this Cubs lineup or bullpen too much. I'm going to roll with the Minnesota Twins in this game on the money line. Should be a lower scoring game, but I like Minnesota to get the job done. Next up, we see the Boston Red Sox taking on the Kansas City Royals. Brian Bayo and Seth Lugo are your starters. I mean, this is a game where you got 2 lineups that have hitting righties very well recently. Red Sox top 5 in OPS and ISO against righties in the last month. The Royals number 6 and number 10 in OPS and ISO as well. Low strikeout rate for KC at 14.6% during that span. You look at the starting pitching matchup. Bayo has struggled this year. Lugo's been excellent, but his expected ERA is over a run higher than his current ERA, so we do worry about regression in the second half of the season. And then you look at the bullpens. The Royals bullpen's made improvements. They picked up a few key guys at the deadline, but the Red Sox bullpen in the last month, not great expected numbers, not great ERA. And then you look at the fact that we're at Kauffman Stadium, a very hitter-friendly ballpark. I got to roll with the over in Red Sox Royals in a game that could go back and forth. Next up, we see the New York Mets taking on the Colorado Rockies. Luis Severino for the Mets and Kyle Freeland for the home team. Severino's pitched since 2015. He's pitched at over 20 ballparks in the major leagues, but he's never pitched at Coors Field. This is going to be his Coors Field debut. We know it's not easy for pitchers, pitching in their first game at Coors. And when we look at Severino's last game against the Twins, we know he got roughed up a bit, 6 earned runs, 2 home runs to go with it in a blowout loss. So I am a little bit worried about Severino in this game. I worried about regression in general in the second half for Severino, but especially in this kind of matchup. And then you look at Kyle Freeland pitching as well as he has since the injury. I mean, we know he had a nightmare start to the season, but since returning from that injury, he's been only really one bad outing, and that was against the Giants. And that's a team that's been smoking lefties in the last month. But other than that, he's put together a lot of quality starts. In fact, in the month of July, he finished with a 3.52 ERA in 30 2/3 innings with 32 strikeouts. Really, really strong for a Coors Field starting pitcher. I'm going to go with the Rockies in this one, plus the 1.5 runs, money line as well. I think they compete in this one. I think they get to Severino for a few runs. Don't love that Rockies bullpen, but I think they do enough here. In our next game is the Chicago White Sox taking on the Oakland Athletics. We're going to see Jonathan Cannon and Ross Stripling as the starters. It's not easy back in the White Sox right now, but I will say Cannon's been one of their better starting pitchers recently. In the month of July, sub-4 ERA. I'd like to see him miss some more bats, but he was able to limit sharp contact, only 2 home runs given up in that month of July. And I think he'll pitch pretty well in the first few innings. I think Oakland eventually will be able to get to this White Sox pitching staff, whether it's the middle innings against Cannon or the bullpen. But I also think Chicago can get to Stripling for a few runs. I mean, he wasn't great in his rehab starts down the stretch. He wasn't great in his first start back against the Angels. And even though he only gave up 1 run against San Francisco last time out, I think he was rather fortunate. He had no strikeouts in those 5 2/3 innings. So I'm going to go with the White Sox plus a half a run in the first 5 innings. I think Oakland eventually finds a way to win this game in the end, but give me the White Sox in the first 5. Next up, we see the Detroit Tigers taking on the Seattle Mariners. Kiter Montero and Luis Castillo are your starters. I think there's a lopsided pitching matchup in favor of Seattle, of course. Castillo's in great form right now. His last 5 games, all quality starts. The Mariners' offense is not great, but I still think it's improving. You're facing Montero, who's given up 4 earned runs or more in 4 straight games and 5 earned runs or more in 3 of this last 4 games. He's given up a lot of home runs to go with it. The Tigers are 0-3 in his last 3 starts, and 2 of those were blowout losses. So I got to go with the Mariners in this one on the run line at home. Next up, we see the Philadelphia Phillies taking on the Los Angeles Dodgers, the final game for the Tuesday card. Pair of lefties on the mound in this one. We got Clayton Kershaw and Christopher Sanchez. Both starting pitchers were not their best in their last starts. Sanchez, 6 earned runs given up against the Yankees. He did have 7 strikeouts through 5 2/3, but definitely not his best outing. Clayton Kershaw, he went 3 2/3 against the Padres, 6 base hits, 7 total runs. Now, only 3 of those were earned, so the defense definitely didn't help him out, but a home run and no strikeouts to go with it is definitely a concern for me when you look at the fact that the Phillies have been crushing left-handed pitching in the last month. Despite their struggles overall, the Phillies are still number 2 in isolated power, number 2 in team OPS, very low strikeout rate, high walk rate against lefties in over 230 plate appearances. I like their matchup more against Kershaw than I do the Dodgers against Sanchez, because Sanchez, also put together a really good outing against these Dodgers back on July 10th. 6 innings, 2 runs, and a 4-3 Phillies win. Give me the Phillies in this one on the money line to end the night. And that's it. Those are the games for Tuesday in baseball. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. Put those baseball picks in the comment section below. And again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pickdawgz Premium. As always, this is Romanelli. Good luck.